Hey guys, welcome back to the Screen Team. It's time to get happy with the Happytime Murders. And to help us with this review, I've got Guy with us. Guy, he is a lover of movies. Is he a lover of this film? We're going to find out in a second. But this film, we've got human beings, we've got puppets, and these puppets are a little adult.
Yeah.
You gonna?
Well,
I was giving you a leeway. I was giving you the floor there, man. You don't want to take it and run with it.
Well,
this is not
okay.
This is not your this is not the Muppets, right?
Oddly enough, yes, it is.
Kermit the Frog's not in this thing, man.
It is written and directed by Brian Henson.
And what did he do?
Jim Henson's son.
Right. He also did the voice of a lot of different characters too, right?
Honestly, okay. I'm going to stand apart from my fellow critics.
Okay.
Critics have been railing against this movie.
They have.
They have been saying terrible things about this movie.
They have.
They have been saying things like you need to be high to enjoy this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to disagree with them.
Okay. Why?
It wasn't a bad film. Now, it's not glowing praise, don't get it wrong.
Sure.
But it wasn't a bad film.
Okay.
The premise of this is kind of the same as Bright, where it was fantasy characters and humans, and the orcs kind of stood in for the racial stereotype.
Sure.
Same thing. Puppets are standing in for the racial stereotypes. In fact, the common slur you use to puppets is calling them a sock.
Okay. They don't like to be called that.
It's roughly... Well, you can figure it out.
Sure.
But, yeah, there's some gross out humor. Yeah, there's a lot of cussing, a lot of adult ideas. But I went into it with the mindset of this. Mm-hmm. Does the story stand on its own if you were to substitute humans with puppets? If it would still stand as a story, then it's a good story. If you take the gimmick out and it still stands, it stands. It's kind of the same as a rock and roll song. If you can play a hard crunching rock and roll song on an acoustic guitar, it's a good song. If you can't, then it's a crappy song and you need the effects.
Sure.
So, ultimately, it's your standard cop was on the police force. They didn't think he would shoot his own kind, so he was drummed out of the force. He's now a private investigator, and he's reunited with his old partner to solve a case type of buddy cop movie. It's a standard story, but it is a story. And they deal with the racial, listen to me. They deal with the racial stigmatization very easily. The main PI, his brother, was one of the puppet actors on the show The Happytime Gang, which was, in this universe, the first show to integrate puppets and humans on television. But he wants to be so human that he's undergone so much plastic surgery and felt bleaching. What they call it.
I like that. That's nice.
To try to make himself human,
yeah.
That he's less blue. He's still blue, but rather than having the big puppet schnoz, he has a more human-defined nose through plastic surgery. Melissa McCarthy, who is the human counterpart, has to deal with her own personal issues because in the shootout where the puppet apparently couldn't shoot the other puppet, she got shot. They rushed her to a hospital, but it only served puppets. They didn't have anything for humans, but they had to do emergency surgery, so they filled her with some stuffing. So she's now part puppet.
Okay.
Now, as a result of that, she has the only addiction that puppets have: sugar.
Okay, she loves sugar.
She mainlines pixie sticks and drinks syrup.
My goodness.
And it's crack to them. In fact, there's one character, you've seen him in the trailers, he's so strung out on sugar.
Mm-hmm. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So how does the comedy work in this film? This is a dark comedy. How did it work for you?
The comedy worked because it was very situational. Mm-hmm. One thing I thought was really funny was how some of the physicality of it lent itself in the dealing with some of the deaths and how things worked. One of the characters gets what's called a bash and splash. Hit in the back of the head, thrown into the river, drowned. But when they fish him out, because he's a puppet, and he's fabric and felt, they have to wring him out. So the physical comedy of coroners twisting this corpse of a puppet to wring it out is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
The whole you want to make somebody look like they're being attacked rather than actually, there are some just shooting them deaths. But one, you just sick dogs on them because they think it's a chew toy.
Really?
And that kills them because as they're ripping him apart, he keeps yelling, "I don't have a squeaker. I don't have a squeaker." See? This stuff is funny. It works. Now, some of the raunchier stuff, which happens when the detective goes into a adult store and they're filming Cows Gone Wild 7, which is essentially a cow on his back being milked by an octopus.
All right, so class.
Implant your own visuals. And that one was a little tasteless for me.
Yeah.
The one that was shown in the trailer of the sex scene.
Yeah,
a little tacky for me. But that's more, again, a gross out comedy. I'm not a big fan. But a lot of the jokes and the way that they're talking and some of the banter interaction and the way that they are wording things to make it sound completely natural and normal that they're in a world with puppets.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them was doing a wink at the camera. Isn't this kind of cute? They all treated it very serious in the film that they were in and the type of film that they were in.
Sure.
So I respect that. When you do this kind of comedy and you occasionally want to turn and wink at the camera and it's like, see, isn't this kind of funny? To me, then you're doing it for your own amusement, not my amusement. So I think the critics are lambasting it because if you just go by an expectation of the trailer, all you're expecting when you walk in is to see puppets swearing like sailors and performing the most depraved, vile acts that any human being can think of, only it's being done with puppets.
Sure.
Not the case. So when they weren't given what they're expecting, they left disappointed and said, well, it wasn't a good film. Not true. You can have a good film. Their selling point is the fact that these puppets don't behave like you would expect puppets to behave. That was the selling point, and that's what I took from the trailer. They took it more literal of this is just going to be a whole bunch of unadulterated naughtiness.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Let me ask you this. The Henson family is known for taking the world of puppets and puppetry to the next level. If you watch the Muppet movie, you see Kermit, riding a bicycle and stuff like that. Does this film try to take that kind of leap and jumps to the next level?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there are sequences where you see humans walking hand in hand with puppets in the middle of the road, and they're walking. And it's not CGI. In fact, there's a sequence during the end credits where it shows how a lot of the magic was done.
Sure.
And it's literally 3 people in green screen suits marionetting him and walking behind.
Yeah.
But actually making the articulated motion of human interaction and actually walking. So if you watch the behind the scenes, it's really fascinating exactly what they did. A lot of it's the conventional stuff, but they really did take a lot of leaps forward in terms of trying to integrate it into a more realistic setting so that you believe it without it being contrived. The Muppet movie is a prime example. The original Muppet movie was the Muppets exist in our world, and that's where it ended. The new Muppets movie was more our world and, oh my God, you're the Muppets, and you're really the Muppet.
Yeah.
This is a little different. This is about a third of the population of the country are puppets. It's not, there's just a select group that exists in this one little realm. This is an actual race of individuals.
Sure.
They just happen to be covered in felt.
Very nice. Would you see it again?
Yes.
Okay. The movie's called The Happytime Murders, starring Melissa McCarthy, directed by Brian Henson, who did the voice of Huggle from Labyrinth. That's who I was trying to think of, so it all comes full circle, guy. You can find the movie. Make sure you check it out. We've got more reviews coming your way right here on the Screen Team.